Hi, my name's Alex Simonzato and welcome to my YouTube channel. For those of you that are new here, I just want to say welcome. I am excited to build out this channel. I'm going to have a mixture of polished content with a lot of value that's to do with my coaching offer. So if you're a creator, a coach, or a consultant that's stuck around 5 to 10K per month and you're looking to scale to that next 20K milestone, I have a lot of systems and processes to share with you that will help you do that whilst being able to scale in the smart way with the flywheel system. So check out that content. Also, really kind of doubling down on building my personal brand and wanting to share a lot more around my life and kind of what I'm up to. I've got some cool travels coming up, so I'm going to take you along the ride. And yeah, welcome to the channel. A little bit about me. So I am British, I'm quarter Italian. I grew up in the US. So I actually grew up, most of my childhood was in Boston. Yes, I did have an American accent. It was like, hey mom, hey dad. And yeah, pretty much lived there for 6 years and then moved back to the UK when I was 10 years old. And I actually went to an international school for a year because we thought we were going to go back because we were just on the cusp of getting a green card, but we didn't. And so I ended up staying in the UK for the rest of my childhood and teenage years. Went to uni in Manchester, studied advertising and brand marketing. I was there for a couple of years, but it wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it. So I dropped out after 2 years because I had this incredible opportunity to go and work in Hollywood, which is something that I talk about, where I kind of just bought a plane ticket and went to Hollywood and slept on a sofa at the age of 21 to literally learn how to edit on Final Cut Pro and work at a production company. That led me to kind of work with Colin Firth and Cameron Diaz on a movie that they had produced and kind of editing together sizzle reels and reading scripts, part of the feature development team. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Really wanted to do that, but at that age, it was difficult to get a visa, so I ended up coming back to the UK. I had this crazy idea to sell a treatment for a TV show. So we were coming up with these ideas for reality sizzles that then you would try to sell in. And there is like this underworld in France and Italy. They're all about truffles. And so I had come up with this treatment based on a story that my dad had told, where they kind of went to this underworld, like these really old guys and like old sheds with like a little like one lamp and kind of dodgy but kind of cool, basically like dealing truffles and like with the weights and the scales, and like a truffle is like $5,000, and it's kind of, yeah, it's like pretty crazy. So I came up with this treatment. I tried to sell it. I got some good feedback, but it didn't work out in the end. I think people just looked at me as this like young person. So that was that. I then was a production assistant in the 2012 London Olympics. That was pretty cool. And then I was kind of scratching my head as to what to do next. And my kind of dad had always been in tech sales. And so I was looking at basically to earn some better money. And then I ended up going into technology sales, which was cool because I learned a lot about the sprint workflow, agile methodologies, and really worked at this company that was at the forefront of building enterprise apps. So for some like major brands, retailers, this was kind of back when iPad had just come out and companies were building their own kind of proprietary apps. So that was cool. Then I moved from there and I worked in a visual search startup. And me kind of being passionate about fashion and culture and creativity, like I kind of doubled down on fashion as a vertical. And so that was pretty cool, you know, having meetings with people like Macy's and Net-a-Porter and ASOS and Burberry, you name it. And around that time, around 2014, 2015, 2016, like it was a big deal. Like wearable tech was just starting. Google Glass was something, although it flopped in the end. But wearables, fashionable wearables was big, in-store retail tech, all that kind of stuff. And so to help kind of market the visual search technology, I came up with this marketing idea called Fashtech, which was essentially a community. And it was really, I guess, a Trojan horse or a way to position the company that I was working with in the room, but giving back and adding value and building connections and bringing awareness around kind of this emerging industry. And so what I literally thought would be like 20 people at Starbucks ended up being nearly 250 people at Google Campus in London, in Shoreditch, which was pretty cool. And it was packed. It was a full house. I think we ran out of drinks and food. We had to get like more. We had to like run down to the local Tesco, which was pretty fun. And that positive reaction snowballed. They wanted to do more events. People just thought it was so cool. It was such a new topic, kind of like how AI is so big at the moment. So there's a free idea. And yeah, creating community. And so what we would do is basically have a panel discussion with experts on stage, and then we would do a startup showcase. So you had this kind of real nice balance between kind of the industry leaders and then the, I guess, startups or solution providers. And then you could facilitate conversations and potentially they might work together. So that was cool. We scaled that between London, New York, and San Francisco. We'd always do the events in and around fashion weeks, which was pretty cool. Everyone tended to be in town during that time, so that's why we did it. And it would be like an evening event format, panel discussion, and networking in a mixer. And then we did like a big conference, anti-conference in London. We worked with some cool brands, and like one of the coolest talks we had was with the creative director at the time of the magazine that had the very famous Kim Kardashian ass champagne bottle cover. So that was pretty cool to learn about the creative process behind that. And yeah, that served its purpose. To be honest, it failed. And so after like 4 years of doing that, I wanted to do something else. And I had always been creative and always kind of been in the business side. I was kind of more on the technology front, and I really wanted to get into advertising and marketing. And so I then had a job at an independent creative agency working with major fashion brands as a head of sales. Did that, and then I went to a big creator agency where I really landed on my feet because what they were pioneering wasn't your traditional influencer marketing. It's very much like the ability to enable major brands around the world and social media platforms to harness the power of creativity through the power of creative collaboration. And so something I'm still super passionate about today, but for me, like, it's not just like, hey, buy this shampoo, I'm an influencer, and using it more as a media buy, but actual creative collaboration. There are so many amazing creators, makers, doers, and what I call like the weird and the wonderful, around the world. And then what we would do, and really what the superpower was helping brands localize creative content by way of partnering with local creators on the ground. And yeah, I was there for nearly 6 years, and as VP of Strategic Partnerships, kind of worked my way up, had a lot of success with some of the largest clients that were Snapchat and Meta. I think during that time, it was super rewarding to not only kind of help creatives, think artists, painters, photographers, filmmakers, graffiti artists, you name it, fashion designers. What we were doing is really championing human creativity at scale. And a lot of the narrative or dialogue at the time was how, major brands will work with your big agency and they generally have the same kind of people in the room that are coming up with ideas, and how can we change that? Because that's not kind of real. And if you're a big brand and let's say you're Coca-Cola and you have a Be Happy campaign in America, that's going to look a lot different in Japan. And what better way to localize that than by engaging creatives on the ground in Japan? And then if you could then think about how could you do that across Spain and Italy and France and Germany and Brazil and Mexico, it was pretty cool. And I think for me, what I love kind of understanding challenges, or kind of through the discovery, understanding kind of what the needs are, what are they trying to achieve, and then kind of almost crafting these bespoke creative solutions with the clients, and then knowing what the opportunity is and the ability to build these creative solutions, not just by myself or with kind of our in-house team, but really then identifying the best creatives across different creative formats in different markets to then plug in and support that brand. And then not only are you getting amazing variety of content, but then you're also getting an amazing creative output, and you're giving back to the community and they're getting paid. So that was pretty rewarding. I think also during that time, I've always felt, given my background, kind of at the forefront of innovation and having a zigzag career, like I'm able to identify kind of market trends and opportunities. And during that time, augmented reality was becoming quite big, and Meta had Spark AR, which was their kind of community for creatives to produce this interactive format, which was augmented reality. So, Instagram doesn't have it anymore, but you could used to have Instagram lens AR effects, which were pretty cool. And then obviously Snapchat has done it for a while, but there was a real appetite to kind of get a lot more variety, a higher quality of creative. And kind of identifying that, we built the world's first kind of platform to champion mixed creatives, diverse creatives from around the world. Not only that we're doing it already, but then also kind of understanding what the skill set was. So it was like, the ability to produce assets in 3D or 2D. You were like 50% of the way there. So then how could you basically get the other 50% of the skill set to then literally produce your creative and bring your imagination to life? Like literally bring your imagination to life. It was pretty cool, super interactive. And so we would run competitions, and that led to me coming up with this idea to produce like the world's first online creativity festival, which I hosted and ran, and that was very cool. And yeah, super successful. Really, really enjoyed it. But unfortunately, all good things come to an end. And from there, I was then set up my own agency. I was consulting. I was working on different projects, different brand projects. And then, really realizing that there's got to be more to this. And I think what I have wanted to have done always really is looking at that 15 years of experience. How can I package that up? How can I offer value? How can I teach people to ultimately level up? And that's what's now kind of all that holistic experience has got me to a place where, I'm wanting to package that up and build Level Up 20, which is my coaching offer. And I offer one-to-one coaching and also group coaching through my platform. And yeah, I've been doing that for the last year, and really only now kind of taking personal branding content a lot more seriously. And so here I am. So it's super exciting. I hope you follow, subscribe, and come along for the ride. You can check out my Instagram for kind of more daily content, and I'll be posting kind of weekly long form content here on YouTube. So thanks so much. I hope that gives you kind of a good overview of me. Actually, no, I've got more to share. What I like. So like I said, super creative. I'm going to Paris for Art Basel. I'm going to go to Miami for Art Basel. I love kind of hearing from artists and creators their process. I'm so curious about how creatives like come up with ideas and what their creative process is and how they find inspiration. And during that career, the part that I missed out is that I then set up an event series called CMO Talks, which were in-person events at Soho House in London that would basically create a platform for emerging creatives and established creatives to have a voice, create discussion, build community. And we would run these events once every 2 months. And we did this for about 5 years. And I would have everyone on the stage from like an executive from an advertising marketing creative agency, an emerging artist that's doing something really cool within specific culture, and like an established creative or influencer creator. And so that would kind of fuel some really cool dialogue and narrative on stage. And they were super popular. So much so that actually the people, the community were like, you should have a podcast. So I did. I built a podcast all by myself. And I didn't have as much disposable income then. And I did it. I would research the people. I would book the people. I would email the people. I would then host the talks, the interviews for the podcast. I had this like mini set up with like a Zoom H6 recorder and 2 Sennheiser microphones and like the little stand tripods, like with the pop filters. And I could like, that enabled me to basically pop up and like have a little mini podcast studio somewhere that was quiet. And so I did that, did a lot of in-person interviews, and then we had COVID, and then I would do like record on Zoom. And yeah, it was good. And the episodes are still out, so go check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, CMO Podcast. And yeah, I mean, it really was kind of bringing that in-person format online through audio podcast only. And similar thing, just hearing from the creative makers and doers, tastemakers, cultural leaders, execs within the advertising world to kind of talk about their story, how they got to where they are, challenges overcome, what they're looking forward to in the future, how they find their creative inspiration, things like that. So I enjoyed it, but I burnt out. I mean, I did about 43 episodes over 2 years, all self-produced. I had an editor, but even that process was crazy because I'd have to read the transcripts whilst listening to the podcast, highlight the stuff I wanted edited. It was just too much. And so I burnt out, and I haven't done it for a couple of years. But now, as I'm really kind of starting to think about kind of what my personal brand ecosystem is, so I've got Level Up 20 as my coaching offer, but then what else? I've always been someone that likes to do different things. I'm quite a multi-hyphenate. And so I'm going to have, there's Alex Simonzato personal brand, and then we're going to have Level Up 20 coaching offer. And then we're going to have Creators, Makers, Doers, which will be the new name of the podcast. Essentially, it's season 3 of CMO, but kind of looking at how to do this video first. So actually working with a professional podcast studio that has, amazing video capabilities. And in the strategy session, they had said that some of the most kind of popular or like engaged podcasts, their titles tend to be more literal. And so that was difficult because I like CMO, because CMO is an abbreviation of See More, and that can mean anything. CMO Art, CMO Creators, CMO World. And it's a brand that I'll use as the holding name of my business. But then having kind of Creators, Makers, Doers as its own brand for the podcast, I'm happy with that and excited. So in the process of planning and putting that together, and why video podcast is great, because then we can have cut downs and then that have its own channel, own YouTube channel, and then a lot of that content can come onto my personal brand channel. So I'm looking forward to doing that and getting back in the hot seat, recording, interviewing people again. So that'll be fun. But this time I hopefully won't burn out, because I've said to them, like, I just want to be totally hands off. So a lot of the hard stuff will be taken care of, which I'm pleased about. And then the next thing, which I can't talk too much about, but you'll see more in Q1 in 2026, but building an app to support the connection of creators. We are living in a loneliness economy. I think, there's more remote work, there's more AI, younger people aren't connecting in person as much. And even just me kind of, really doubling down on content creation, like it's pretty lonely. Like I feel it. And so how can we create a product that ultimately helps creators connect? So I'm going to leave it there. I won't say too much more, but it's super cool. It's super simple, and really looking forward to launching that. And yeah, I think then I'll have Alex Simonzato personal brand, we'll have Level Up 20, we'll have Creators, Makers, Doers, in this app. And I think that is what I call like the personal brand ecosystem. Something that I'm very passionate about is the flywheel. I'm anti funnels. Funnels are dead. And so this is like taking the flywheel, putting it on steroids, because not only can you have a flywheel for your coaching offer, but then how can you also create an ecosystem for your personal brand? And if you like to do lots of things like I do, this is something that then kind of fuels the different passion points, and ultimately helps build the overall personal brand as well. And they all kind of feed into each other. So yeah, I'm happy because I got a lot of that clarity this month gone. September, it was just, the most productive month I've had all year, really. It's been a bit of a crazy year. The summer was nuts. Like, I consult for another company, and there was a lot of travel and events involved, and I wasn't really able to kind of collect my thoughts until August. But then I had a well-deserved vacation with my family in the south of France. Drank, ate everything, was smoking cigarettes, had fun, and you can't beat yourself up. But because it was needed, I had to let my head down. But I'm really happy now to have kind of had complete clarity and focus and fucking lock in terms of what I want to build. And it's so exciting. And I think also, like, really just September, October, November, like, now is the time to lock the fuck in. Like, it's lock-in season. And I think what I've loved about this also is, not only am I looking at what I'm trying to achieve this year, but I'm already thinking about the first half of 2026. I think that's also helped because I'm planning to go away for December and January, but it's kind of forcing me to think ahead what I want to achieve. And I think also I'm really having to learn patience, because I want everything now. And that's not the reality, I was talking with my mentor, and it's like this idea of just knowing, if you have complete clarity and focus and you put the reps in every day, you show up, you maintain your consistency, eventually it will happen. And I think that is the biggest thing. You just got to be patient. And we use this analogy of like building the Lego house or Lego mansion, as my mentor said. It's like, brick by brick, day by day, just keep going, keep moving forward, and yeah, it's going to be shit. I wake up sometimes, I'm like, oh, fuck, that reel didn't perform well, or I just want everything now, or, I wish I had 50 grand so I could buy all the equipment that I want and do everything and travel and whatever, like now. But the universe is kind of, giving you things as you need them. And ultimately that helps build the experience and focus on what you need to do, but ultimately patience. So yeah, I think, I think that's a good amount of detail for you to know who I am. So thanks so much for watching. If you've lasted this long, then you're an absolute rock star. I can't wait to see more of you. I can't wait to share more content and share my journey. There's going to be lots of exciting things, from kind of the polished talking head content around Level Up 20, looking at how I'm building this app, looking at what I'm doing with the Creators Makers Doers podcast, and all my travels and kind of personal stuff in between, and vlogs and things. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, team.